Hello everybody, thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel again. My name is Duncan Taborda. I'm the founder of Class 1 School of English. I've been teaching English to speakers of other languages, adults, for 10 years now in this beautiful city of London. I love my job, I love teaching English. It's a great language. You think it's complicated, I know, but it is, I'm not going to deny that, but it is a beautiful language and it's a fantastic, it's a rich language, many ways of doing things. Today, I'm going to deal with a tense called the future perfect. Now, in a previous tutorial, I did about 4 ways in which we can speak about the future. I didn't include this one because even though it is a way to talk about the future, it's slightly different. So I'm going to explain why we would use it. It could have gone in there, it could have been the 5th way, but I didn't want to put that in. I wanted to have this as a separate tutorial. So, the future perfect you would use when you're talking about 2 things in the future that you hope are going to happen in the future, or you plan to happen, and this will be the first thing that happens, okay? So the first thing that happens out of the 2. So, let's try this, okay? Right. The first thing to tell you is let's show you how you form the future perfect. Very simple way of forming it. We're going to use the word will. Okay, we use will for the future. I'm then going to use have. Only one way of have, like this. I'm not going to change it to has for he or she or it. I'm going to leave it at have. The reason for that is will is known as a modal verb. In a future tutorial, I will go through modal verbs in greater detail. However, the one thing you need to know is that when you are using a modal verb in English, when it's followed by another verb, it's only ever in the base form. There is no tense. You don't put an S on the end of it. You don't have any tense. You don't have any ing. It's always the base form. And this is the base form of to have. This is how the verb to have starts. So will have. Now, another thing that you need to know about English, and there's not many things that I can say to you in English. This is always the rule. This never changes. I can't say that because 90% of the time there are exceptions in English. However, hallelujah, here's one I can tell you. This will never change. You can absolutely guarantee this, okay? When you have any form of the verb to have, if it's have, has, or had, whichever form you've got, when you follow it with another verb, it can only ever be the past participle, okay? Again, I've explained before, the past participle is the 3rd form of the verb. When you see lists of English verbs, you'll see it like this. This is the base form. This is how it starts. The middle one is the past simple, when you're talking about the past. These are verbs that can be used on their own, this form. And then you've got the past participle, the 3rd form. It can never be used on its own. It has to be used with another verb, okay? So if you hear somebody saying, an English person saying, I done my homework yesterday, it's completely wrong. Do not follow that lead, okay? That is completely wrong. That is the past participle. The past of to do is did. I did my homework yesterday, all right? So, will plus have plus the past participle. Okay, and that is how you form the future perfect. So, I will have lived. Okay, there you have, that's the form of the future perfect. Now let's use that sentence, that same sentence, let's use it with something else in the future, and then you'll understand why we use the future perfect, okay? So, I will have lived in London I will have lived in London for 35 years next month. Okay, as you can see, next month is going to be the second thing that happens. The first thing is going to be my 35 years of living. Alright? let me give you a different sentence now. And we use by or by the time a lot when we're using the future perfect. Okay? So let's try that. Okay, by the time I am 60, I will have visited 50 countries. Have a look at that sentence. What do you think is the first thing that I would have done? The first thing out of those two, which would have happened first? Okay, alright, as you can see, the 50 countries would have been visited before I was 60, because that's what I'm saying. By the time I reach 60, which in my case is in 4 years' time, I will have visited 50 countries. So before that happens, I will have done the visiting. Okay? So, by the time I am 60, I will have visited 50 countries. I can just use the word by on its own. So, let's do this. I'll tell you what. In 4 years' time, it's 2020. So let me give you this sentence in another way. Yeah, just using by on its own now, not by the time. So, I will have visited 50 countries by 2020. Again, 2020 is going to be the second thing. It's going to be the last thing. Before 2020, I would have done the visiting. So you can see, I've put the future perfect in the second part of the sentence. I've put it in the first part of the sentence. It can be flipped around. It can be flipped around, okay? It can have the same meaning. But basically, to form the future perfect, will plus have plus the past participle. It's the first thing about two things in the future. Alright? And just to tell you one more thing, this particular sentence here, I could have used the future perfect continuous. Alright? The future perfect continuous is going to be, to make it, it's going to be will plus have plus the past participle of the verb to be. So that is been. So with the future perfect, you don't have a choice. It's got to be will plus have plus been, because when you're using a continuous, again, I've explained this in a previous video. Check out my video on present simple and present continuous. You'll understand about how you have to use it. You have to use the continuous, any form of continuous. You have to use it with the verb to be in different tenses. In this case, I need the past participle of the verb to be. And now I need an ing word. So I'm going to use to live as an ing. Okay? To live is spelled L. The base form of lived is L-I-V-E. Live. When you're using the continuous, before you put the ing, you take away the e. So I will have been living. So what I could have said was, I will have been living in London for 35 years next month. It's a continuous action that would have started in the past, and it would still be continuing. So that's why I could use the continuous there. Okay. When we use the continuous, it's the longer action that's interrupted by a shorter action. So the longer action would have been the living, the shorter action that interrupts it, 2020, by 2020. Not an action, the time. Okay, so hopefully you understand that, to use the future perfect and to use the future perfect continuous. Even when you're using the continuous, it's still the first thing that you're talking about in the future. It's not going to be the second thing, it's going to be the first thing. Okay, so to wrap it up, just a quick recap. Future perfect, talking about two things in the future. You use the future perfect for the first thing. It's formed by using will plus have plus past participle. And as I said, in English, when you use the verb to have, whatever you follow it with, whichever verb you follow it with, it can only be the past participle. You can't have any other form of the verb. You can't have present, future, past, present, future, past. You can't have it. It's got to be the past participle, okay? And then the example sentences: I will have lived in London for 35 years next month. Whichever thing is going to be the first thing in the future, you use the future perfect. And if it was a continuous action, which was interrupted by something, you can use the future perfect continuous. I will have been living in London. I will have been waiting. By the time this bus comes, I will have been waiting 1 hour. The waiting was the first thing, the bus arriving was the second thing. Okay? I hope this has been of use to you. A great future perfect, a great way, a great addition to your English if you can practice using it, if you can make it regular. Not only will it expand and improve your speaking, it will also improve your writing. It'll make you a much more advanced writer, a much more advanced speaker. Okay, so hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've understood it. If there's anything you're not sure about, please type it up. I promise you I will get back to you. But if you've enjoyed it, why not subscribe? Subscribe to my channel, and you'll then be informed every time new videos are uploaded. I'll also be uploading all the paperwork, as I mentioned, that you'll be able to download and keep for yourself. I do also plan to have live streaming at some point in the near future, which means you will actually be able to participate in a class. Okay, a bit more of that as we go along. But just to say, I am Duncan Taborda from Class 1 School of English, and this has been about the future perfect. Until we speak again, over and out.